So allow me to be the first to say I am well aware this is not my normal type of content for my channel. You guys know me, I like to stay in my own little corner, mind my own business, just focus on the beautiful games out there. But there's just been a lot of bonkers headlines popping up, and I want to focus on an issue that has garnered a lot of attention, which is the plummeting of games journalism. And I think it's quite honestly the worst it has ever been, because there's a lot of non-stories lately that are getting stories, and I think that really emphasizes the examples that I will be putting into play today. Now, before I really do get into anything, allow me to just speak on my side of the fence as a content creator, that our way of things is not perfect, because I know a lot of people out there who do YouTube videos and make gaming news are sensationalists. Somehow, for example, we'll say CD Projekt Red gives out free DLC for Cyberpunk. That turns into a situation where it's like, screw EA for a lot of YouTubers, and I'm like, how did you even leap to that? Like, this is just one individual good thing. It's its own solo story, but it always turns into something much more grandiose. So I just want to make sure people know I'm not saying that we're absolved of all our sins, but there's very much a downward spiral occurring for games journalism, because let's start off with the PlayStation 5. As some of you may or may not know, I mean, it was a huge story. I don't know how you could have missed it, but the PlayStation 5 logo was revealed, and in the words of a wise Mr. Matty, that's crazy. Now, it does appear that the rest of the games industry agreed with my take, because there were a lot of stories on the Sony PlayStation 5 logo being revealed. Now, I want to highlight IGN's article first and foremost here, because I found one part particularly hilarious, and I'll explain why. Sony PlayStation 5 logo revealed, and there's a little write-up about how it took place on the stage of CES 2020. There was a keynote event, there were high expectations. Sure, good backstory, the lore has been established. Now, here's where it gets really funny to me, okay? If you're not familiar with it already, the PlayStation 5 logo is similar to that of the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Okay. Except with the 5 numeral in the place of the 3 and 4. Much like the name of the console, the logo is a natural progression of Sony's console evolution. That's crazy! That's crazy! Look, okay, I know at first it's gonna seem extreme, but the way I look at it is, at what point do you explain stuff so deeply to your audience that you just assume anyone reading your site is an idiot? The 5 takes place in the 3 or 4. I mean, come on, man. Like, if you're a 70-year-old just discovering the internet for the first time and you've never touched a controller for your life and you see this PlayStation 5 logo, I think the natural assumption is that what was before that was a 3, a 4, a 2, a 1. Like, why is this a story? You know, so many people did cover this logo, and the story ended up being a joke that it was a story. And that's another part of games journalism that I'm sort of like iffy on, because I think making stories about memes, it's like, what? Personally, I also think that the regurgitation of other people's memes for quick clicks is not that appealing. Ultimately, I would rather just go make something myself I could be proud of, but hey, that's just me. Now, hot on the tail of that riveting piece of news is a discussion about PlayStation 5 exclusives. As a lot of us know, PlayStation 4 was a home to a ton of fantastic exclusives. Ratchet & Clank, Bloodborne, Spider-Man, the list goes on. Horizon Zero Dawn. It's such a crazy high-tier list that Sony has created here. So naturally, the PlayStation 5 should have that, right? Well, that's crazy, because DualShockers has reported that PlayStation 5 will have PlayStation 5 exclusive titles at launch. What? You're telling me that they're gonna have PlayStation 5 exclusives on its console at launch? Get the hell out of here. Wow. Okay, so once again, we're taking a look at the article here, and it says, in a sigh of relief to many PlayStation fans out there, it seems like the PlayStation 5 will indeed have exclusives to the console at launch. Now, keep in mind, this story is a follow-up, if you will, to a recent topic I actually made a video about Xbox's Match Booty, which, by the way, you guys are immature. A lot of the comments were talking about the man's last name. Leave him be. Anyway, a lot of people were talking about how Xbox pretty much confirmed that there weren't going to be exclusives at launch, that they were more so looking at the consoles as a family. So pretty much everything that you could get on the Xbox Series X will be available as well on the previous Xbox One hardware, which for a lot of people was a turnoff, but for a lot of people it was exciting because it was very consumer friendly. And I think just as a company, Microsoft probably didn't do themselves a favor being behind a whole generation outside of Game Pass. I don't think they're starting off on the right foot here, but that was just my take. Personally, as a consumer-friendly creator, I'm like, yeah, go for it. I have no investment in your company, so have at it. But when you look at the history of the PlayStation, and more so the PlayStation 4, all the exclusives that have been established, all the series that were created, all the new IP, I'm sorry, it's so friggin' obvious that there were going to be exclusives. That's like PlayStation's thing, right? And whether it's a first-party exclusive or we have the money hat IPs where they pretty much buy out third parties. We could talk about Nier Automata. There was also Hellblade. Those two games are now available on all the consoles outside of Nier, not being on Switch. That needs to change. But anyway, we have Persona 5, right? Like, PlayStation had a lot of great third-party exclusives as well that remained on the PlayStation console for at least a significant amount of time. And I would expect more of those to start off the generation because that's Sony's mantra, man. Like, they're the exclusive juggernaut, and I think they're going to continue that. That's their identity, whereas Microsoft has sort of shifted into an identity of Game Pass services, just play our games anywhere, which is why I think the rumor of Game Pass going to Switch is more than likely going to end up being true via the xCloud, by the way. So that's why I'm like, why is this a story? The PlayStation 5 is going to have exclusives. Come on. In fact, there's actually proof in the pudding that Sony's already investing in third-party exclusives because Godfall is coming to the PS5 exclusively, and that's from Gearbox. So there you go, right there. Gearbox obviously not owned by Sony, but they are creating a game exclusive for their platform, which does look dope, by the way. Now, this one is my favorite one because it's not anything to do about games. It's just a very out-of-touch approach. So Imran Khan, who formerly worked at Game Informer, he's now a part of Kind of Funny, he posted a tweet saying that PC Gamer introduced their forums in the year of our Lord 2020 and their rules post is a thing. So let's read the specific rules for PC Gamer's forums. The following activity is expressly prohibited within our community: grapes, guns, religion, abortion, politics, economics, sexuality. Subject matter discussion is prohibited, except where these topics are expressly covered in articles posted by the PC Gamer editorial staff. The moderation team reserves the right to remove any such posts and take action as warranted. Anyway, this post ended up gaining a lot of traction on Reset Era, where a lot of people were kind of making fun of PC Gamer for their rules, which we'll get into in a second. And to further wrap up that story, PC Gamer did provide an update on their forums to the rule. In the interest of clarifying misunderstanding about the subject matter of off-topic discussion, we've made some adjustments to the rules. Thank you all for your understanding and for making the PC Gamer forums a welcoming venue for discussing game. Now look, man, this is coming from someone who, when I was 18, I helped create a forum website. Some of you may remember, some of you may be new and not know this, so allow me to fully explain. I ran a forum site with some friends called sugarbombed.com. It was a primarily, go figure at the time, Bethesda focused forums. It was kind of on the tail of the Fallout 4 hype. We wanted to ride that, gain some traction, and make an exciting forum page for people to discuss things. And it actually did really well for its time, but obviously after Fallout 4 came and went, it started to fall off. But one of our mantras for the site was that you could go here and you could have a safe discussion. You wouldn't have to worry about getting like bullied or talked down to. And I think those were good rules absolutely to uphold. But eventually what happened is that we started to have moderators enforcing so many rules that it eliminated the conversation, that people would go elsewhere to have the conversation. And much like with these specific rules, people are allowed to talk about these types of things. But obviously when it comes to like berating people, harassing people, yeah, you know, bring down the hammer, do something about it. But when it comes to just discussing these topics, all you do as a website is say, go somewhere else, right? And when it comes to games media versus like personal influencer, there's no personal connection there. They view you as a company, an entity. So they're like, yeah, screw PC Gamer, I'm going somewhere else. It's not like directly screw Matty, right? There's no person to connect it to. And like I said, these rules are just so out of touch, right? Like, I learned from this style of rule setting and limiting conversation mistake when I was 18, right? Like when the internet was much younger and we still had a lot to develop there. But now the year is 2020. Like, this type of stuff is allowed to be discussed. I mean, more so for me, what stands out is economics. You can't talk about economics? Why? Like I said, though, they did update the rules, so I'm not going to go too in on it. They were very quick to act on it. It's just kind of silly it was in there in the first place because it's so out of touch. And between articles that don't need to be justified, almost assuming your audience is stupid, this type of rule setting, I mean, I gotta say, like, games journalism is on this humongous downward spiral. And I think a part of that is because what's happening is they're just trying to cover everything out there, right? Because what's happening is there's a reason why, you know, content creators and press kind of click heads a lot. And that's because we sort of like inch in on their territory. So look at it this way, right? I do RPG videos. That's my main focus. I'll have discussion videos like this, but RPGs are my bread and butter. So are you going to go to IGN, GameSpot, where you're going to click on an article with someone you don't know and read about, we'll say, Cyberpunk? Or are you going to go to me and other YouTubers who cover RPGs or maybe specialize in Cyberpunk lore and hear their take on news, hear their view on certain discussions, right? Isn't it more valuable to get someone who's much more informed and you know that for a fact and you can personally connect to that one person, right? The press is missing that now. They don't have that person, right? And it's up to the people on the staff who have this platform to make it count. That's the thing. They're like gifted a huge platform to build a career off of. And that's how you saw the likes of like Colin Moriarty, Greg Miller, Danny O'Dwyer, and so on, because these people were so likable. They did a lot of great things in their line of work. They built their own personality. And eventually all three of them went off to create their own individual companies. And now they're very, very successful men, right? So there is that opportunity there, but I don't think the time is right. I think a lot of people have moved on from connecting with individual members of the press because I think few valuable ones remain. Like one that comes to mind that I really appreciate is Ryan McCaffrey. I really like his work. I think he's an excellent writer. I think he does good coverage and he's very fair and honest in his work. And that's something that I certainly value nowadays, but it's a very, very tiny list. Jason Schreier is another. Imran Khan, actually funny enough, because we mentioned him in this video, was another when he worked at Game Informer. We always joked on the Ham Radio podcast that we ended up using every article with his name on it. We were like, we got to get this guy on the show. But look, man, I'm not trying to like punch anyone's work. That's why I tried to focus more so on the verbiage of the way they were talking to their audience and not really directly the actual work itself, because I know what that's like. It's not the best feeling, and like I said, I'm just trying to be, you know, constructive, because ultimately, like, this is sad to see, like, a logo is a headline and then explaining that the numerical position changes with each entry. Like, anyway, that'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to highlight what's been going on because maybe I'm the only one noticing it, but yeah, it's not pretty. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Maybe I'm alone on this, who knows? Fire away, ladies and gentlemen. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all of the patrons who make these videos possible. I appreciate each and every single one of you for continuously having my back. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. Love you all. Peace.